Hey Internet, it's your old friend Dominic here with the All-American Casino Guide, a channel dedicated to providing you with all the tips, tricks, tutorials, and trivia that you're going to want to know about casinos and casino games. Today we're going to be talking about betting hands, specifically Texas Holdem, and when to know you have a strong hand and what kind of hands you should be playing. Check out the rest of our channel. We have tons of videos up already on a variety of different subjects, including introductory guides to the game of Texas Holdem. While you're there, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon because it's going to be the only way that you're guaranteed to get all of our videos and be notified about it as they become available. So as discussed, today we're talking about starting hands in Texas Holdem. Now, Texas Holdem is a very interesting game as it is not entirely a game focused on maths as you would see in games like blackjack, for example, where once you understand the math of the game and you even can understand card counting and advanced card counting techniques, you can pretty much get the game down to a science. There is a social aspect, inversely, in the game of Texas Holdem that brings the game to a whole new level of difficulty for gamblers and new people coming to the game. It's one of the things about the game I love so much is this social aspect and the way you can bluff or you can behave in a certain manner in order to give a certain impression about the strength or weakness of your hand. As a side note, did you know the longest game of poker ever recorded was at the Birdcage Theater, where it lasted 8 years, 5 months, and 3 days, continuous 24 hours a day? That is a lot of poker, and I can only imagine how high the big blinds got. The most important basic skill you're ever going to have when it comes to Texas Holdem is understanding what a good hand is. And when I say a good hand, I mean the cards given to you initially face down. Those are your whole cards. A lot of players make, a lot of inexperienced players rather, make the mistake of playing too many hands. They think that if the big blind, is small enough, if the risk is small enough, then they can limp in and go ahead and see the flop and potentially improve their hand. But the truth is, even if you somehow pair something up on the flop, you're not guaranteed to win the hand. Just because you improved your hand, that's great. But at the end of the day, you're in competition against the other players. And depending on how many players there are at the table, the likelihood that one of them has a hand better than you is rather high if you aren't already playing the nuts or the best hand at the table. So what is the best hand? Obviously, when it comes to hole cards, the best hand you can possibly hold is going to be aces. We call this bullets. It has the best chance of improving and staying the top hand because it is the top ranked card. Followed of course by kings, sometimes called cowboys, queens, sometimes referred to as ladies, and jacks, sometimes referred to as fish hooks because the J kind of looks like a fish hook. Obviously another great option here are suited connectors. So 9-10 for example, spades, that's a great hand because it gives you the possibility of a straight draw or a flush draw. Other examples though that are not so good would be like 2-8 hearts in this example. Not a great hand because even though they're both hearts, you've kind of locked yourself into only going after that flush. And even if you pair a 2 or an 8, it's a relatively low valued card. Equally, King 9 is not a great hand. Even though you have the potential of going for a straight 9-10 Jack, Queen, King, you have this wide gap of cards you'd have to overcome and find somehow in order to improve this hand into a straight. And of course, 2-7 offsuit is probably the worst hand you could possibly be holding. As I said, be very mindful of, even if you have one card, like for example, King's a good card. If you pair up another king, you have a pair of kings, that's good. But at the end of the day, your other kicker card is very important as well. 9 is pretty much the bottom of what I would consider a playable rank as far as opening hands. My second piece of advice kind of connects to my first, as in you can play more loose, meaning you can play with hands that are not exactly the strongest when you're playing out of position. So as in Texas Holdem and Omaha and any of the games like this, specifically we're talking about Texas Holdem today, you have the dealer, you have the small blind and the big blind. So being on the button is a great position to be because that means you will be the last to act. You'll get to see what all the other players do first. And that puts you in a unique situation where you can see if other players are limping in or if they're pushing heavy with all their chips because they really think they have a strong hand. You can get out of the hand if you don't have a great hand, or if you actually ended up having a great hand, you can push in heavy and essentially dominate the table, either getting players to get knocked out of the hand because they're too intimidated by your bet and they don't believe enough in their own hand, so they want to get out. Or you could suck them in because they do believe in their hand, they're going to throw in some chips, and then you're going to see a bigger potential payout at the showdown. Which brings me to my third and final point for this particular video, which is don't be afraid to re-raise. Especially when you're on the button and you have that great position. If you are in a situation where you have a great hand, don't be afraid to be aggressive. Go ahead and re-raise. It makes a great statement about the strength of your hand, and it's going to hopefully push players out of the hand. When they push them out of the hand, they're out. Their money has already been committed to the pot, but they're not going to get to see any more cards. A lot of players are chasing after straights and flushes, and they probably don't have them yet. So if you make a strategic re-raise out of the right time, you can actually shake out even the most desperate of players or pot committed of players who just simply realize that they're chasing after those hands that just aren't there yet. So in situations where you see that there are 3 of a particular suit on the table, or if you see a clear straight draw that is in the community, this is a prime time opportunity to re-raise and try to shake those players out of the hand. Well, that puts a wrap on our brief discussion on starting hands and how to play them in Texas Holdem. If you liked this video, make sure to click that like button. And if you have any comments, questions, or concerns about it, go ahead and leave them as a comment down below. Check out the rest of the channel. We have so many great videos up already that are on a variety of different topics that you might find interesting. Hit that subscribe button. Click and clack that bell so that you don't miss any of the notifications as new videos become available. My name's Dominic. This is the All-American Casino Guide reminding you, play responsibly.